This is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we're going to talk about a very important subject. And that subject makes up most of the earth, and it also makes up most of us. So the earth is 90% or over 90% water. And guess what? We're over 70% water. So water is what I'm talking about today. Water is a very important subject and can be a little bit controversial in raw foods. There's the ideal and the realistic in raw foods about water. Some people say, oh, I'm on a raw foods diet. I don't need to drink water. I get my water from fresh fruits and vegetables. And well, after all, plants are up to 90% water. So if we're eating fresh plants, we're getting, a definitely high percentage of water. But most of us aren't eating fresh plants or getting it cut, shipped across the country and 10 days old, or apples, or from last year in oxygen deprived storage so that they stay fresh longer and companies don't lose their investment in their inventory. So, on a side note, we want to be eating the freshest quality stuff because after something's harvested and it's picked, it starts to dehydrate, it gets old, wilty, and not so good. But today, let's get back to the water. But water is very important. So what do you do? How much water do you drink? Is water important to drink? Well, you know what? Water is absolutely important to drink, and it's very important you get an adequate amount of water each and every day, or you will become dehydrated. And there's many conditions, and not all of them are chronic conditions caused by dehydration. When you get the thirst urge, or the feeling that, hey, I need to drink something, guess what? You've already been dehydrated, and it's past the time when you should have been drinking water. So you should have already been drinking water. So if you're new into raw foods, you're going to get to kind of learn how that goes, and you're going to have to be paying more attention to this. Because even if you eat a diet high and rich in fruits and vegetables, you probably will still need to drink some supplemental water, that being said. So the average recommendation is you take your body weight and you take half your body weight in pounds for those of us in the United States. So for example, I weigh about 140 pounds, so I would take that 140 divided by 2 is 70. So I would want to drink about 70 ounces of water a day is what they recommend. So that being said, I would then take the 70 and, if I'm drinking a lot of fresh juices or smoothies in the day, or fresh fruits, 70, 80% water, or coconuts here, my favorite fruit. Well, we'll talk about coconuts later, but that's really high in water. But so, the more fresh fruits and vegetables and juices and smoothies you take, you can decrease that 70 ounces, Can you do all vegetables and fruits and no water? I'd still say water is, pretty important. We should drink some levels of water, or at least coconut water if you don't want to drink real water. So that being said, what we're going to talk about today is water. The first thing is drinking a filtered water. That's step number one. Don't drink your tap water. If you don't drink tap water, so the other options are what most people do is they get bottled water, such as this bottled water here. Now, bottled water is probably better by that much than tap water because at least it doesn't have the chlorine and some of the chemicals and things, but it is in a plastic bottle, and the plastic bottles tend to leach chemicals back out into the water, especially if the water has been sitting in the plastic bottle for a long time. So, in my life and in my teachings of raw foods and teaching people, I always teach people good, better, best. You want to do at least the good thing, hopefully you can do the better thing, and maybe you can even do the best thing. So this video is going to be about good, better, best, and yes, bottled water in a plastic bottle is good. Better yet, get bottled water in a glass bottle. Much better, glass doesn't leach, they're heavier, and oftentimes they're more expensive, but definitely better for the environment and better for us to drink because we're not getting all the plasticizers in the water when we drink bottled water out of glass bottles. The next way, besides bringing bottled water into your house, either in plastic or glass, the best way is actually to filter your tap water. Tap water, for the most part, is actually pretty good quality of water. And if you just get a good filter system, you could filter the tap water and, in some cases, get water similar to this, because in some cases it'll say county, or it'll say source on there, Crystal Springs, or it'll say, source, municipal water from wherever. And they're just using municipal tap water, and guess what? They filter it. they bottle it, and then they sell it to you at an incredible markup and an incredible cost to the environment because of all the plastic bottles. So if you just invest in a good filter system, you can make your own bottled water literally for pennies a gallon. So there's many different filter systems out there. Today we have one here. It's a Jupiter ionizer. We'll talk about ionized water in just a minute. This ionizer has a water filter built in. Now, in my opinion, a lot of these ionizers, the filter system is just a really weak filter system. They just take out the minimum they need to basically ionize the water. So even if you have one of these expensive Kangen or Jupiter or whatever the brand is water ionizers, you want to get definitely a pre-filter or a regular filter to make drinking quality water in your home. So most waters in the United States, from what I've seen, you basically need a good carbon/KDF media system, and the one I like is the actually Aquasana drinking water system. So that system's good if you just have basically chlorine in your water and all just the regular stuff that's in water. Now if your city is adding fluoride, that's a really huge and big problem. So you want to check your water source, number one. If they're adding fluoride, there's only two methods really that's effective at taking out the fluoride in the water. Number one, that's a reverse osmosis, which takes out all the minerals, and that's another topic we could talk about, is what kind of water. Reverse osmosis, distilled or filtered, and I will talk about that in a second. So reverse osmosis and basically what's called an activated alumina filter cartridge takes out the fluoride. Very important to take out the fluoride. There's a lot of studies that show that fluoride kind of, what I would say in 3 words, dumbs us down or makes us stupid and reduces your IQ. After you have the activated alumina, then you'd go into your carbon filter system, and then you would go into something like this if you chose to have an ionizer. So these water ionizers, what they do is they say they structure the water, or they ionize the water and make it more alkaline, so if you drink it, you'll become more alkaline. Well, you know what? In my opinion, these things are probably good. They're about $2,000. It's probably maybe better than not having one. But you know what? The best source of alkaline water on a raw foods diet, bar none, and anybody could challenge me on this, is fresh green juice. We want to let the plants absorb all the nutrition from the soil, and we juice those greens in our juicer, and we get alkaline, rich, alive water, because most waters we get out of the tap, are not alive. They've been, in holding tanks, put through pipes, and they have all these water spiralizers and all these things to invigorate your water, and some people say add lemon juice or drops of lemon juice to your water to make it alive. I mean, yeah, that's probably all good, but definitely, better than all that stuff, fresh green juices. The best at all. This is a rack of coconuts. So coconut water, absolutely the best water on earth, filtered by the coconut tree, up the big coconut palm, and then into each of the nuts. So this is the best water. It's rich in electrolytes and just so good for us, tastes so good. And these are ones that are harvested fresh. These are the young coconuts. What is the best water? Filtered, distilled, reverse osmosis, or tap. Well, definitely we could eliminate tap, so that leaves us filtered, distilled, and reverse osmosis. Well, basically we could kind of categorize these together. Reverse osmosis is pretty much the same as distilled water. Both these processes remove all the minerals. It's the way how they remove the minerals. So distillation basically works by boiling the water, condensing it into the steam, and then basically taking the steam and then forming water back into that, so that removes all the impurities. And reverse osmosis basically filters the water, usually through a couple carbon stages of filtration, and then puts it through a membrane where none of the minerals could get through the membrane. So that being said, both of them remove minerals, and probably the thing that I'd like to say about that is that nowhere in nature really does distilled water or mineral-free water occur. Look at the oceans. The oceans are one of the most abundant sources of minerals on Earth. And I do think we need our minerals, but I don't think we should necessarily get them from our water, but I think we should drink water that has minerals in it. Whether we can absorb them or not, that's a whole nother topic of discussion, and I'm not going into that this time, but definitely of these two, I like reverse osmosis better because it's not using all the electricity. So all in all, I think the best water for us is actually drinking a good filtered water. If you choose to drink a water, of course, the coconut water would be better. If you can't get it filtered, don't want to get it filtered, then get the bottled water, glass bottles, and finally the plastic bottles, at least on my lowest on my totem pole for drinking water. How much water will I need on a raw foods diet? Well, that depends on your raw foods diet. If your raw foods diet is rich and high and you eat a lot of nuts, seeds, dried nuts, seeds, sprouted flax crackers, and dried things in the dehydrator, guess what? You're not eating a water-rich diet, and you will need to drink more water if you're eating a diet rich in fresh fruits and fresh vegetables and juices and smoothies. You will need to drink less water. So, after all, our bodies are 70 to 75% water. We want to be eating high water content foods such as fresh fruits and fresh vegetables as fresh as possible. That'll minimize how much water we really need. So hope you've learned a little bit today talking about water and raw foods. This is John Kohler with OKRaw.com, and stay hydrated.